But I miss you in the mornings when I see the sun.
What's up, all my horsey people? This is Hazel again. This is one of the sessions I did kind of in between when we started really getting our little jog on, where she was nice and relaxed. And I noticed that she really wasn't doing the side pulls like I would have liked. So I decided to kind of take a day to go back to the groundwork with both of these horses. And also I feel like that gives them a little bit of a reprieve from, me going into the round pen and just throwing a saddle on them and getting on and going, which is what I do. That's the end goal, and that's how I do most of my sessions after I've started, really the mounted work. After a few rides where I know that they're not going to blow up on me, I don't do much lunging. I don't do much groundwork at the beginning. I just put the saddle and get on, because for most of my clients, that's how they ride. They tack their horses up and they just get on and go. So I don't really have a lot of space and room in my training program for, 10, 20, 30-minute groundwork sessions before each ride. It's just not how I do it. So sometimes I do take a day and I do groundwork like what you see here, where I really hone in on, getting them to move away from pressure. Here I kind of had to get after her a little bit. When I ask for the backup, I really want fluid steps back. And when she moved away from me just then, I just kind of kept moving towards her with my body and with my energy. Here I've obviously got a crick in my neck or my shoulder, so I'm just stretching. But you can see her side pulls are getting much better from the beginning of this session to now. And that's really what I wanted from her, especially since she's a horse that could potentially go in a hackamore or a bitless bridle, because she really doesn't like the bit yet. So that's definitely an option for her in the future. So I want to make sure that her, side pull, neck pull, whatever you want to call it, lateral bending is all there. Like when you get on her back, if you have to put your hand to your hip and make her, bend her neck, or if you need to really get the hell out of Dodge and move away from something, she's going to have that pressure, knowledge of pressure on her nose and her face, and she's going to know how to do this. So super important. And then after she does the side pull, lateral bending correctly, I always walk a little bit forward, and you can see she's chewing, she's licking, she's really digesting that information and thinking about it. And here I hardly had to do anything, and she's right there. So it looks great. I really like this horse. She's a fast learner. She's just getting better and better, and I love it. I think she's doing really, really well. The backup needs some work. She is pretty sticky with this backup, and I'll probably go back and do another groundwork day where I just kind of work on the fluidity of those steps. But I also don't like to drill a young horse on a backup, because I feel like the piece of the puzzle, say that 5 times fast, the piece of the puzzle that I really want them to think about is the forward. So I want them to think, in a forward motion as opposed to backing up all the time. And I have seen, but some trainers back up their horses like crazy all the time. And I feel like it just puts them in this backwards mode of thinking that really is not conducive to the way that I train. She is such a cute little horse, and she's a really pretty color, dark gray. She's gonna gray out really, really pretty. And you can see there, she's just really got this lateral bending thing down. So I'm about to send her out on the circle, and if you remember, this horse did start off really skittish. I like how she's following me right now, but really, as soon as I feel like she's not really following me, and I've lost that kind of connection, that's when I just send her out. And again, I don't drill these horses on any of these exercises. I'm just looking for that component of relaxation, and just kind of them looking to me for the next step. And here, you can see she's just kind of going crazy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, can you just stop already? And because I stopped the energy of my body, I stopped turning. Here she's again going a little nutso on the round pen, so I make my body energy really small. I sat down a little bit so that maybe she would chill out, and she did. She slowed down to a trot, and then she looked to me. But here's the thing, I don't want this horse, it's great that she turned in towards me and looked at me or whatever, but I'm not going to let her just stop when she wants to stop. The main thing is that I'm going to keep her on that circle until I say, okay, now you can come in. And I know in this session, it took me a while. She's working out on the round pen and not liking the fact that I'm trying to be, I hate the term alpha, but that's seriously what I'm looking for with her, is that I can tell her what to do and when to do it. And here she's just walking really nicely on the outside of the round pen, which is exactly what I want. She was nice and calm coming into me, so I'm okay with that. But you can see she's just a little bit agitated right there. When I touched her body flinched. She doesn't look like a relaxed horse. She's following me nicely. I do like that. But again, you can see her eyes, her ears, she's looking everywhere except for at me. And here I'm just trying to get her to move her forehand away from me with as little pressure as possible. I sometimes, what you just saw, I'll push the air. And she did pretty well. I mean, she moved her forehand away from me without running away. Here I'm asking her for a backup, and I'm pushing the air again. I'll give her a little tap on her shoulder, and when she does what I ask, right there she took one step. I'm just going to give her, some pats and a second to think about it. So here I call that my little chicken dance, when I kind of make my energy bigger with my body, and I'm asking her to back up. A lot of you probably know this game as the yo-yo game, where you make them back up and then you ask them to come back towards you. And I'm just kind of giving her a second here to think about it. And I do like to put my my arms over their back and their necks, because that's something that mayors do to their foals. Here she's really moving much nicer. Her forehand away from me. This is such a good exercise, moving their forehand away like this without them running away. It really helps them identify your little space bubble. Everybody has, a bubble of space around them where they feel comfortable with their horse, staying out of that bubble, if that makes sense. And so this exercise of pushing that forehand away without them just running out to the edge of the round pen. I'm like, okay, I think I'm done. She did good. She was a really good horse. And here I've got Hunter, and I decided to do the same thing with him. Part of me thinks that on this training day, the owners were not around, so I didn't have anybody at the farm, which, is a good thing sometimes because the horse's attention is completely on me. But then other times, like when I want to ride or, do our first lope or something like that, it makes it a little bit difficult because I do want to be safe and I do want to have, people around in case of an emergency. So I think on this day I was all by myself out there and I thought, okay, I'm just going to go back to the basics of the groundwork that we had worked on and see if there were any holes. Like here, he's backing up. He's not moving his forehand away. He's backing up. So I'm going to keep asking him to move the forehand away until he actually takes 1 to 2 steps. And I'm looking for him to pivot on the hind leg that's closest to me when I do that exercise, if that makes sense. So his forehand is going to pivot around his hind end, and that's what I really want, without the head flying up, without him getting upset with what I'm asking. I really, I feel like groundwork can be overdone. 100% people can do too much groundwork, but for me, on a day like this, I really just want to see him thinking about what I'm asking, taking a second. Here he's, obviously looking at another horse. So I'm just going to stay with him. And he's awesome at these lateral bends. He's a natural. He knows exactly what I'm asking for. This horse I can't even say it enough. He is such a good boy, and I am so lucky to work with him. I wish I had more time with him, but this is, the way colt starting goes. You give them the best start that you can possibly do and hope that it carries through for the rest of their lives. And that's really why I do what I do. I always think, I'm going to give this horse the best training and the best basics that I possibly can, which really boils down to rhythm and straightness and, obedience within the transitions and a relaxed horse. That's really what I want for these colts and these fillies. And, I always say, like, if one day one of these horses that I've started ends up at a sales barn or an auction, I can feel confident that somebody's going to go into work with them and they're going to say, oh, well, they really know some of this stuff and they're going to be a good horse, So I'm kind of giving them a little bit of a lifeline for later on in life if anything happens. You can probably hear my baby in the background. I'm holding her now while I'm trying to record this, but that's okay. And you can see he got like this ginormous plant. It was much bigger than what it looks like in the video, but I just think he's such a character. He was trotting around and he just ripped this giant weed out of the ground. So that's how I like to end the groundwork session, with him following.